Welcome to Gamecock Pod Live.
For the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be committed to the University of Gamecock.
This is Rodgers again to the 25, 20, 15, 10. Rodgers scores! Jackie Bradley Jr. delivers for the Gamecocks. Lost it up, looking for Kelly. Touchdown! Can you believe it?
And South Carolina is sending shockwaves through the SEC.
Frederick! Plays it in at the buzzer! That's a win! Unbelievable! I don't believe it!
And now, live from Studio 54 of the Gamecock Pod Studios, here's the Cockfather himself, Keith Alsep.
All right, everybody, welcome into Gamecock Pod Live for March the 6th, the year of our Lord 2024, episode number 1430, where it is Quarter Zip Wednesday. Lot on the line for Lamont Paris men's basketball. The game is a sellout tonight. Hopefully there's some kind of whiteout, garnet out, blackout, something. Hopefully it's just nuts and too much for Tennessee. We've got a lot. We're going to talk about that a lot with my guest, Chandler Mack from WLTX, Channel 19 in Columbia, the 2023 South Carolina Sportscaster of the Year. We'll talk a lot of basketball. But as we jump into our Nana's Porch news, notes, and headlines, and also want you guys to jump into the Nana's Porch chat box and leave your comments or questions there. We'll be very interactive today because of Chandler's schedule. Had to record this interview, and so while that's going on, we can chop it up in the Nana's Porch chat box. Today's news, notes, and headlines, and our chat box brought to you by Nana's Porch. Nana's Porch is, of course, a full-service catering company servicing the greater Charlotte area. Whatever your catering needs may be, whether it's a banquet, a wedding, a corporate event, Nana's Porch has got you covered. Spring is coming. Maybe you want to have a big backyard bash with a whole hog barbecue and watch some March Madness. Give my good friend Chris Payne a call at Nana's Porch. Maybe you got an event you want to bring in a food trailer. Nana's Porch voted among the top 3 food trailers in Charlotte according to the local newspaper poll. So go to nanasporch.com, NANASPORCH.com. And as we all know, and there could be some big news coming down the pike here, no spoiler alerts here. But as we all know, Nana's Porch Pimento Cheese voted number 1 and number 2 in the meat and cheese category by the North Carolina Specialty Foods Association. I urge you to support this Gamecock-owned and operated business. Give Chris a call. Tell him Keith Alsep sent you from Gamecock Pod Live. All right, so we're going to talk a lot of basketball today, but we're going to start with some football stuff. And that is, let's go back to Friday with the hire of Mike Furry after the Saturday before James Coley left for Georgia. I think there's a lot to like about Mike Furry. He played the position He was a walk-on at Ohio State, transferred to Northern Iowa, is in the Hall of Fame there, was an All-American there, was an undrafted free agent who played 8 years in the National Football League. He started at safety in 2005, and then in 2006 went to the Detroit Lions and led the NFC in receptions with 98 catches for like 1,100 yards, a bunch of touchdowns. And then Detroit had the audacity to draft Calvin Johnson in the next draft. He talked about that. He became teammates with Matt Nagy in the Arena League with the New York Dragons, where he was a record-setting wide receiver there. That friendship proved to be beneficial when Matt Nagy became the head coach of the Chicago Bears. He hired Mike Furry to be wide receivers coach. He spent 4 years in the National Football League with the Bears. They went to the playoffs twice. His wide receiver room got better every year. That was after 2 years as a head coach at Kentucky Christian and his first stint of 2 years as a head coach at Limestone. After leaving the NFL, he spent the last 2 years back at Limestone. And so this guy, he knows every coach in the state of South Carolina, and probably in a good portion of North Carolina as well because of where Gaffney is situated. Folks, let's face it, players are not lining up to go play football at Limestone. You've got to mine every high school off the beaten path, try to find players, be able to recruit players, and as he said at his press conference, manage 205 player roster, okay, with limited scholarships that you're splitting up, kind of like they have to do in baseball. They won, I believe, 8 games each of the last 2 seasons, and I see a lot of Sean Elliott in this guy. Mike Furry seems like a fiery kind of guy. He's got a great story to tell. I thought the best quote from his press conference, he said, development is not a coach's decision, it's a player's decision. Players have to want to get better. And he talked about being around a lot of gold jackets. Well, that's what you get when you're inducted in the NFL Football Hall of Fame. And being in a lot of practices and a lot of walkthroughs and watching a lot of gold jackets take notes. And certainly I think all of that adds to, you get a guy with, 6 years of head coaching experience, 4 years of coaching the National Football League, 8 years as a player, the National Football League. A guy who spent 4 years in the state of South Carolina, getting to know a lot of the high school coaches in the Carolinas, Georgia, probably Virginia, Florida, as well as Limestone, went everywhere to try to find players. And let's also not forget that Shane Beamer, he had ammunition and he cast plenty of shade and some aspersions on the lack of recruiting and development of Justin Stepp, and on wanting guys who want to be at South Carolina and want to win championships at South Carolina, not go back to Georgia where it's the path of least resistance. I said it last week, I can't be mad at James Coley. Honestly, if I was him, I would have probably done the same thing. I think, they basically doubled his salary. His kids spent 4 years in Athens, got a lot of friendships. Instead of them moving to another brand new city, they get to move back to a place where they spent 4 years, have friends, have memories, and let's face it, work for the best football program in the country. And so now, hopefully this is the staff. Okay, you got rid of your running backs coach, who was obviously the worst recruiter on your staff, Montario Hardesty. You replaced him with a guy that even James Coley said he didn't like to go up against on the recruiting trail, and a guy that's been a coordinator, that's recruited and coached a lot of great running backs, starting with Kareem Hunt, with Toledo, to Quinshad Judkins at Ole Miss. He's worked for some of the greatest offensive minds in college football. And Marquell Blackwell, you got a big-time upgrade. Okay, you had two guys leave for head coaching positions. Pete Limbo thought it'd be impossible, but you hired Joe DeCamillis, a guy with 34 years special teams experience in the NFL. You know, Shane Beamer also wasn't shy about talking about that $450,000 and then some they got back from James Coley for violating the terms of his buyout by leaving in the first 90 days. You hired Sean Elliott, which is exactly what you needed, which is what Lonnie Teasley needed. Is Sean Elliott going to be the best tight ends coach in the country? Probably not. He'll have a lot of help, probably from Mike Furry, probably from a graduate assistant that Dow Loggins brought with him from Arkansas. But make no mistake about it, Sean Elliott is the run game coordinator, and he will have his hands all over that offensive line. He's going to demand perfection and demand physicality, demand 110% on every rep. And I think Mike Furry, you will see the same thing with the wide receivers. And they got a lot of work to do there. I don't think that roster is set. I think they'll look to add 1 to 2 more wide receivers in the spring. But he's got a lot of young, talented guys. They got some talented transfers. And so it'll be interesting to see the development of that room. Shane Beamer on the On 3 podcast talked about obviously having to be better stopping the run and better running the football. That's why you brought Sean Elliott home, is to help Lonnie Teasley fix that offensive line, and you got a lot of pieces to work with. All right, so I definitely think, you know, you've added 2 head coaches to your staff. You've added another guy with coordinator experience that worked for Dana Holgerson, that's worked with Lane Kiffin, Jimbo Fisher, and Bobby Petrino, and Mike Furry with a head coaching and NFL pedigree. And Sean Elliott, 7 years a head coach. So you added 13 years of head coaching experience to your staff and some damn good assistants that I think can elevate the play of the offense and the special teams at South Carolina. Next Wednesday will be South Carolina's Pro Day. They'll start off in the long family operations. They'll do the bench press. They'll measure guys, their height, their weight, their wingspan. They'll then go to the Steve and Jerry Spurrier indoor practice facility where they'll go through the combine. They'll go through the vertical. They'll go through the short shuttle, the 3-cone drill. They'll do positional specific individual drills for NFL teams. 15 current, and well, all of them are former Gamecocks, some coming back, but 5 Gamecocks at the NFL Combine. And some of those guys definitely improved their stock there, namely on ESPN.com, when you looked at who were the biggest risers from the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. Spencer Rattler and Xavier Leggette's names front and center. Spencer Rattler had an effortless throwing motion, and the ball came out of his hand with accuracy. He measured at 6 feet, 211 pounds, consistently showed he can control the ball with touch, but also crank up the velocity when necessary, making multiple standout passes. According to one ESPN analyst, he is Rattler's favorite developmental option at the position and could sneak into the bottom of the second round, but probably a third rounder. With Xavier Leggett, they knocked him for the slow start at the Reese's Senior Bowl. Matt Miller said he had even dropped him outside of his top 50 after the practices did not show the burst you saw on the game tape, and he measured 6'1" instead of 6'3". But after the 4.39 40 at 221 pounds and a 40-inch vertical and a 10.6 standing broad jump, the explosiveness and the testing matched the game film. He is climbed back up the board and looks like a true first rounder. And then today, Field Yates ranks his top 50 NFL prospects. Spencer Rattler coming in, Xavier Leggett coming in at number 31. Here's what he has to say about XL. Leggett is a big play waiting to happen, showing excellent explosion and run after the catch skills. He was one of the biggest risers during the 2023 season and flew at the NFL Combine, turning in a 4.39 second run in the 40. After just 42 catches in his first 4 seasons, he hauled in 71 catches for 1,255 yards and 7 touchdowns. And then I think Matt Miller in his, this is Jordan Reed's 2-round NFL Combine, or NFL mock draft, I should say. He has Xavier Leggett going to the Atlanta Falcons at pick number 43 in the second round. All right, baseball. Disappointing weekend. Gamecocks losing 12 innings on Saturday at Seger Park. Then they go up to Clemson and blow a 3-1 lead. End up losing 5-4 to Clemson. They go 0-2, so they've already lost the season series. They bounced back last night with a 7-1 win over the Citadel. They open SEC play this weekend at Ole Miss. We'll have more on that on tomorrow's Gamecock Pod Daily, as well as thoughts on the Tennessee basketball game. Then on Friday, Peyton Titus from Go Gamecocks and the State will preview the women's tournament, and we'll talk a lot of women's basketball. Women's softball ranked number 22 in the nation. They are 18-2 and will host USC Upstate tonight. Gamecock women's basketball postseason awards are out. 6 Gamecocks are winners or represented. And by the way, Ashlyn Watkins voted or named the SEC Player of the Week for last week, where she averaged 17 points and 7.5 rebounds in a pair of wins. It was historic because Watkins became the 4th different women's player to be named SEC Player of the Week, something that's never been done before. Okay, Camila Cardoso was named Player of the Week. Raven Johnson was named Player of the Week. Te-Hina Poapoa was named Player of the Week. And then Ashlyn Watkins. So 4 different Gamecocks winning that honor. Malaysia Fulwiley named to the all-freshman team, and she was the second leading scorer. Okay, here's where I have a problem. Now, let's go through the top awards first. Angel Reese named the Player of the Year. I'm okay with that. Personally, I would have named, I thought Rakia Jackson should have been the SEC Player of the Year. Dawn Staley named Coach of the Year. The Defensive Player of the Year, Camila Cardoso. Freshman of the Year, Michaela Williams, who was a starter at LSU. She was the number 2 ranked player, only behind Juju Watkins. She had a phenomenal season, no problem with that. I did think Ashlyn Watkins was robbed of being the 6th Woman of the Year. That went to Leilani Correa from Florida. But here's where I have a problem. Let's run down the first team, all SEC here. Sarah Ashley Barker, Alabama, the Georgia transfer. Honesty Scott Graham from Auburn. Anissa Morrow and Angel Reese, both first team, all SEC. No doubt about it. Both of those deserved it. Marquisha Davis and Madison Scott from Ole Miss. Well, both of them had to figure it out. Rakia Jackson, first team all SEC. But normally in South Carolina, look, they won the league. They went 29-0, 16-0. They're the only team in the history of Southeastern Conference women's basketball to go 16-0 back-to-back seasons. Okay, never been done before. To the victor go the spoils. All right, while South Carolina placed 3 players on the second team, they only got 1 player on the first team. Are you kidding me? Are you serious, Clark? How is Te-Hina Poapoa not on the first team all SEC when she is the leading 3-point shooter in women's college basketball? Would you take Te-Hina Poapoa or Sarah Ashley Barker on your team if you got to pick a guard? I'm just asking. Okay, Raven Johnson, who led the league in assist to turnover ratio, even though her play did drop off the last few weeks of the season. And nowhere, not on the first team or the second team or the all-defensive team, is Breezy Hall. Breezy Hall actually, along with Tessa Johnson, they were the top 2 3-point shooters in SEC play. And as we all know, Breezy always drew the toughest defensive assignment when it wasn't playing a post player. I thought there were some snubs there. But the good news is Te-Hina Poapoa is coming back for another season. She announced on social media on Monday, her and her dad had a call with Dawn Staley. That was put out on social media. There's probably a young lady who we'll talk about in just a second that could have been a little message for. But Te-Hina Poapoa is considered by most outlets as the most impactful and the top transfer in the country. It's her and Anissa Morrow and Lauren Betts. Betts has missed a good part of the regular season, and she just doesn't move as well as I think a lot of people thought she would. All right, so tonight is South Carolina and Tennessee at 7 o'clock on ESPN2 with Tom Hart and Jimmy Dykes. Of course, they called that exciting come from behind win over the Florida Gators on Saturday. Gamecocks are 24-5, 12-4 in the SEC. And do you realize South Carolina's won more SEC games this year than they won games all of last year? Lamont Paris, a shoe-in for the SEC Coach of the Year, so you're probably going to have both SEC Coaches of the Year from South Carolina. And look, we'll get into this in my conversation with Chandler Mack. South Carolina controls their own destiny. Okay, if they win out, they are the SEC regular season champions and will be the #1 seed in the SEC tournament. That's what's at stake this week. The game will be a sellout. Only 3 players are walking for senior day. Those guys are out of eligibility. B.J. Mack, Stephen Clark, and Talon Cooper. Miles Studi and Meechie Johnson are both listed as juniors on the Gamecock roster. And Abrima Ebo, as he's known by his teammates, he's working his way back. At some point, they will petition the NCAA. He's got a great case for getting another year. We'll see if he comes back or not. But for now, it looks like Miles Studi and Meechie Johnson could be coming back. And then one sad note here, we here, and I'm sure all of Gamecock Nation sends our heartfelt condolences to the family of former Gamecock offensive lineman and Dillon native DJ Park. He passed away on Sunday. He had been hospitalized with a number of health issues, just 29 years old. And so our heartfelt condolences and thoughts and prayers are with his family. Gone way too soon. Played at South Carolina for Steve Spurrier and Will Muschamp, 2013 to 2017. And then our final news, notes, and headlines revolve around future Gamecocks. Joyce Edwards, who's not only named as a McDonald's All-American, just led Camden to back-to-back state championships, and what a performance. She saved her best for last. 27 points, 20 rebounds, and 7 block shots, leading Camden to back-to-back state championships. She was named earlier today to the Naismith High School All-America girls team earlier today. Another McDonald's All-American and Gamecock signee Madison McDaniel out of Bishop McNamara in Maryland. A McDonald's All-American. She was named honorable mention. She had suffered a meniscus injury and had surgery to repair that, so she'll miss the McDonald's game, but she'll be 100% by summer. Sarah Strong also named to the Naismith High School Girls All-America team, and Edwards and Strong, 2 of the 5 finalists for the Naismith National High School Player of the Year Award, the Girls National High School Player of the Year Award. That will be announced on Friday. And so I'll be on the baseball field, so I'll be pre-recording my show. But we'll see if she can get that award to go with, that would just be another award for her illustrious career And can't wait to see her in a Gamecock uniform on what will be a stacked squad as it looks now. Maybe Camila Cardoso is the only player you lose if, Sakima Walker decides to transfer down someplace where she can play. You got Adele Tack. There's always the portal. Plus, you're returning Ashlyn Watkins, Chloe Kitts, Sanaya Fagan, as well as adding Joyce Edwards, who is a power forward, and then Adele Tack, who's a 6'6" center. And there's no telling who else Dawn Staley could add between now and then. All right, so you see at the bottom of the screen, today's show is sponsored by 5diamondbotanicals.com, your go-to supplier for CDB products. Okay, 5 Diamond Botanicals, mind, body, and spirit. This company was founded by a healthcare professional with 28 years of experience and founded on the principles of honesty, transparency, and producing products for all consumers. And all of their products are derived from hemp that is 100% organically grown and sourced here in the USA. 5 Diamond Botanicals, a number of our patrons on Gamecock Pod Daily have ordered from them. You tell them Keith Allsep sent you, you'll probably get a discount. Maybe you'll get something free thrown in there. But they have a whole line of products from the Nano Salve, the CBD Nano Drops, sublingual drops that you go under your tongue, the gummies, the roll-on for my knees, the salve, which really helps. I got a really tight groin that I ripped in 2006. It helps with that. It helps the soreness in my lower back. They got a full line of products, bath bombs, body lotions, hand lotions for the ladies of the house. The gummies are delicious. They can help you wind down your day and fall asleep. And then those sublingual nano drops help give you a really good night's rest. So go to 5diamondbotanicals.com. That's FIVE, diamondbotanicals.com, proud sponsor of Gamecock Pod Daily and Gamecock Pod Live. All right, bear with me. Jump in the Nana's Porch chat box and let's get to our interview with Chandler Mack. And we welcome back in a great friend of the program, the 2023 South Carolina Broadcaster of the Year, Chandler Mack at WLTX. And it is Quarter Zip Tuesday, and it's the final week of the regular season. Can you believe the SEC season has just flown by like it has?
I can't, Keith. Yeah, I mean, it feels like yesterday, when we were just – the season was starting and, everything was going on with like football, right? And it was like the cross season between football and basketball. And now all of a sudden we're in the cross season of basketball, softball, and baseball. It's pretty wild to see, but it's definitely exciting times. And the fact that both basketball teams for South Carolina at least are good again is just giving a lot of buzz to the city that it hasn't had really, since the Final Four year in 2017 with both basketball teams. So that's definitely exciting.
No doubt about it. And so this team picked dead last. I mean, basically like the media said, okay, it's like a mule in the Kentucky Derby. You're coming in dead last, 14 out of 14. Lamont Paris pushed back on that, which I thought out of the jump told his team, I got your back.
Yes.
All right. But now we fast forward to today. South Carolina is in sole possession of second place in the Southeastern Conference. Okay. They are 12-4 in the league. And they control their own destiny. 24-5. Nobody had that on their bingo card.
Not at all.
12-4 in the SEC. Tennessee is 13-3 in the SEC. South Carolina controls their own destiny. You went out, you're the SEC champs. You're going to be the #1 seed in the SEC tournament. Who thought that was possible?
Yeah. Exactly.
3 months ago.
Not a single person, Keith, including myself. Now, I knew for a fact that when I saw they were picked to finish last, I was like, that's pretty disrespectful. I mean, you look at the other teams in the SEC, especially the bottom teams in the SEC, I figured the Gamecocks were better than them just off of the guys that they brought in through the transfer portal, the Miles Studies, BJ Mack, even Stephen Clark early in the season. He started the freshman that came in with Colin Murray Boyles. I figured, okay, this team should be at least 500, right? And then also Michi Johnson coming back as well. But none of us, right, like you said, could have predicted 24-5. And literally you are just 2 wins away. You control your own destiny. If you win out, you're SEC regular season champions. No one thought that coming. I think it's a testament not only to the hard work that the guys have put in, the players have put in, but the coaching staff as well, you know, getting out there on the recruiting trail to get guys to buy into a program that last year only won, 11 games, right? And a program that, because of, you know, what happened with Gigi and how that turned out, you really didn't know about Lamont Paris and what he was trying to build at Carolina. But they were able to still get guys to want to come here and buy into what Coach Paris was telling them and selling them. And everything's, you know, turned out great. And like I said, it's a testament to the hard work of the players, hard work of the coaching staff, and you know, Coach Paris. I think if you look at all, you know, I know there's a lot of names in that hat for National Coach of the Year, but a 13-win turnaround as of right now is what Lamont Paris has on his resume. No other coach in the country has anything like that, and while playing an SEC schedule. I mean, I don't know if there's, you help me out, Keith. I don't know if there's another coach in the country that has a resume that great this season to be eligible for Coach of the Year. And it's exciting. Like I said, it's just wonderful to see both basketball teams for the Gamecocks be good again. And with the Gamecock men now having a chance to win the SEC regular season title and, like you said, be a first seed in the tournament, the SEC tournament. I mean, that's just big time stuff. And they definitely, you know, they're a lock. It was funny. We talked to Coach Paris on on Tuesday, and we were like, yeah, you know, you're a lock for the NCAA tournament. He was like, oh, fingers crossed. Like, you know, he's still thinking, okay, well, I don't know, but Coach, you're good. You're going to make the tournament, the big dance. And yeah, it's just really awesome to see.
No doubt. And so, Chandler, this was all the setup, because this begs the question: is tonight the most important or the biggest men's basketball game that has ever been played in Colonial Life Arena? Okay, the last time the Gamecocks won the SEC, Eddie Fogler, Lethal Weapon 3, basically, with Melvin Watson, BJ Mack, Larry Davis. That was at McGuire Arena, where the teams now practice.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But at Colonial Life Arena, you have number 4 Tennessee rolling in, who is 26-3.
Yep.
Number 4 in both polls, potentially. Look, they have a lot riding on this. They have a potential number 1 seed and the SEC championship and that number 1 seed riding on that game tonight.
Yep. And
so is this the biggest men's game? Because I'm going to go back to 2020 and the women's basketball game against UConn. You've never beaten UConn. Colonial Life Arena was just nuts.
Yes.
18,000 people. I think UConn only scored like 2 or 4 points in the first quarter, and South Carolina just boat raced them. Gino Auriemma, in his press conference, very colorful language talking about, well, every once in a while it's just okay to say a team just played better than UConn. But that was a monumental win, regardless of the fact you had a national championship for Dawn Staley.
Mm-hmm.
You had never beaten the standard bearer.
Yes.
And so to me, up until this point, that has been the most important game played in Colonial Life Arena. But tonight for the men, with everything that's on the line, your thoughts on just where this game is in South Carolina basketball history playing in this arena?
Yeah, I think playing this arena, Keith, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's the biggest game, definitely for the men, right? I mean, I think, for the women, it was facing UConn in 2020 with everything that was riding on that. It was, you felt like, okay, this was the year that they could beat UConn. That year was the season that they could do it with everybody they had, with Ty Harris, Leah Boston, Zia Cook, right? Kiki, Herbert Harrigan. You figured, okay, this was going to be the year they could do it. And then they did it. And the way they did it, the fashion they did it, it was amazing. I mean, it was one of the greatest atmospheres I've ever been able to experience. But I think, tonight, like you said, number 4 Tennessee, the fact that you beat them already this season, right, in Knoxville, and then they're coming here with a chance to win the SEC regular season titles, still on the line, and you in Carolina still controlling your own destiny. Yeah, this is the biggest game that they've had. I mean, the only other game that I kind of think, okay, would kind of equate to it was when they played LSU in 2016 when Ben Simmons was there. But you knew LSU wasn't going to do anything in the tournament. You knew Ben was going to be the number 1 pick, but that it wasn't like this, right? Where everything's on the line. Well, not everything necessarily, but a big chunk of what you really have worked towards this season. One of your big goals for this season is on the line against Tennessee, who's, been one of the, as far as like Kentucky, Tennessee in the SEC, they're always up there, right? In the SEC, they're always one of those teams. And now if you beat them, not only do you beat them and you still have a chance to win the regular season, the SEC regular season title, if you win out, well, if you beat Mississippi State on Saturday, but you also have a chance to get your first sweep of Tennessee since 2017, which of course was the Final Four season. So I think just being able, with all of that on the line, I think for the men, this is the biggest game they've ever played at Colonial Life Arena. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it.
Well, I mean, no doubt about it. This is huge. And so if you go back, South Carolina opened the season with that win over Mississippi State at home at noon on CBS. They go on the road to Alabama. It gets away from them in the second half. By the way, Alabama's, even though they're probably not going to win the SEC, they're still playing for a 1 seed because of their net ranking.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go back and look at it, and I want to say is the most important game of the year, but going on the road to Missouri, because nobody after the season they had last year saw them being like a bottom feeder this year in the SEC.
Yeah.
But you got that road win in overtime, but then you come home and squander it. And to me, that's really was a huge turning point for South Carolina, because they started going back to early season practices with fundamentals, with boxing out, rebounding, finishing possessions, working on them. And they started a 7-game SEC win streak at Arkansas. Now, we all know by now Arkansas doesn't like physical play. Well, at least not on the basketball court.
Yeah.
But you dominated them 77-64. Then Kentucky comes in with Shepard, with Wagner, with Big Z, who we had just seen play his first game, hitting threes. They're number 6 in the nation, riding high, and you put an absolute beat down on John Calipari's team, 79-62, and you follow it up with another win over Missouri, and everybody says, well, all right, we've arrived. We're going to be ranked. Well, guess what? You weren't ranked.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then for the second Tuesday in a row to end January, which is a great month. That's my birthday.
Hey.
So you beat number 6 Kentucky on January 23rd on a Tuesday. You get Missouri on Saturday. You're not ranked. And what do? You go to number 5 Tennessee on Rocky Top with Dalton Connect, who's going to be the SEC Player of the Year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jonas, Adu, all these dudes that they have. And you just force them to play your tempo, impose your will. And somehow, some way, even though you kept making free throws, they kept getting 3 for every 2 you got.
Mm-hmm.
But Miles Studi knocks down 4 free throws in the final 30 seconds. You get that win, and it just ignited the team. Then they go to Georgia in a revenge game, and they really beat the brakes off the Bulldogs that day to get the revenge game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then you get into February. Then you get Ole Miss at home. That's a huge game. They've been playing great. You jump out to this huge lead, and then Alan Flanagan happens, and dude starts making every single mid-range jump shot he takes, and you hold on, you get the win, you beat Vanderbilt, you ascend to number 11 in the nation. Everybody talks about this huge game against Auburn, at Auburn.
Yeah.
And you get run out of the building. I mean, the game was over. I mean, it's like the Celtics and Warriors.
Yeah, literally, it was just like that. I was really thinking that.
No need to even play the starters the second half.
No
right?
need.
Like, it's over. You get beat 101-61. And so I think we were talking about this. Then you got LSU. We were looking at all the games left on the schedule. LSU was the lowest ranked and the best chance to get a win in this gauntlet of games to end the season, because Ole Miss was going to be a quad 1 road game. Texas A&M was going to be a quad 1 road game. Florida's going to be a quad 1 game. Tennessee is going to be a quad 1 game. At Mississippi State's going to be a quad 1 game. You thought, man, we got to get LSU, and then they have a 16-point lead and blow it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're going to not be able to bounce back, but where's it going to come? Well, A&M's kind of struggling. Maybe you can catch them, but man, Florida's playing great. Tennessee's playing. All these teams are playing great.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where Lou Holtz comes into the conversation. South Carolina had ascended to number 11 in the polls. I think we can both agree this was not the number 11 team in the country. Certainly not the 11th most talented roster.
Yo, they're not talent, yeah. No respect. Yeah.
Lou Holtz said, you know, things are never as good as they seem, but never as bad as they seem, but the truth is always somewhere in the middle. And so I thought it kind of balanced out for this team to drop to number 20. And they finally get the midweek off to recharge the batteries. The legs are dead. They've been through a long conference season. They've only been playing 8 guys in SEC play. And then lo and behold, they go to Ole Miss and just absolutely obliterated them, led wire to wire, led by as many as 19 points on multiple occasions in the second half. And, you know, we found out Alan Flanagan, if basketball doesn't work out for him, he's got a career in UFC.
Oh, boxing.
Because of that elbow he threw on Zachary Davis. I mean, let's just let that marinate, okay? Frank Martin might have got ejected for punching a player if somebody had done that to one of his guys. I mean,
yeah.
The restraint that Zach Davis showed, because, you know, look, they got Cisse and they got that big 7'5" guy. You probably, you know, his reach advantage. You're not getting inside on him, right? But Josh Gray, I don't think anybody wanted to mess with him.
No, it's big boy too. He packed that thing too. Yeah.
I mean, how is Flanagan not suspended for multiple games for that? What's the difference between – he literally threw a punch with his elbow.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like he extended his elbow or came down on him or did like that. I mean, he literally threw an elbow into his jaw. I mean, think of Zach Davis. He could have got a cracked orbital bone. He could have got a broken nose. He could have had his vision impaired. He could have gotten his jaw broken, teeth knocked out, all kinds of things. And the SEC's like, no, we're good. He's just out for this half. That's it. Okay. What if he would have done that to Shepard at Kentucky or Dalton Connect at Tennessee?
A little different. Yeah. Was all good. No respect. Yeah. They you know, Gamecock's feed on that. So it's all good.
No doubt about it. So as we sit here, another thing nobody had on their bingo card, right? Like South Carolina has more SEC wins than they had overall wins last year.
Mm-hmm.
But half of your wins have been on the road.
Exactly.
In the SEC, 6 SEC road wins, starting at Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, a revenge game at Georgia, Ole Miss, and then you got a Texas A&M. You got a 13-point lead in the second half, and you're kind of cruising, right? And then about the only thing I can criticize about Lamont Paris is he watched A&M go on a 17-1 run and take a lead before he called timeout.
Yeah.
I mean, all the momentum had shifted Yet somehow, some way, the Gamecocks built the lead back up to like 7 points, right? And 5 missed free. Well, as a coach, like when a guy missed the front end of a 1-and-1, we counted that as 2 missed free throws.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
South Carolina missed a free throw on an and-one. And then in the final 2 minutes, Meechie Johnson and Talon Cooper both missed front ends of 1-and-ones. And A&M starts making shots. They tied the game with 9 seconds to go.
Mm-hmm.
To his credit, Lamont Paris does not call timeout, which I agree. When you have a veteran team, I'm not letting the defense change, right? Because you don't know. They may change to a 1-3-1. They may trap the inbounds pass. Number one, you're not guaranteed of even getting the ball back in if you call timeout.
Exactly. You're not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you don't know what the defense is. They know your favorite quick hitters. They're going to be defending them. You just go into chaos, right? Because they're excited. They just tied the game. Meechie Johnson dribbles right down the middle of the court. Everybody's spaced. The defender comes over. Zachary Davis cuts in. You get the layup with 3 seconds left. And somehow, some way, you get that win, right? Like that's kind of like one of those games you could have lost, just like you should have beat LSU. Maybe you could have lost that one.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And then their reward is coming home and playing Florida, who's the hottest team in the league. And, bro, I got to say, maybe the 3rd most talented roster in the league. I mean, Walter Nolan Jr., are you kidding me? Some of those bigs that they have, they got like 4 guys, 6'10" to 7 feet that are unbelievable. Their guards knock down shots. I mean, Meechie Johnson, only 4 points in the first half. You're down by 10 with like 12 minutes to go. It's not looking good.
Yeah.
And then Meechie Johnson and Colin Murray Boyles just spur a 26-12 run, and the home crowd. Like I thought the home crowd, Jimmy Dykes really pointed out about the home crowd, how in tune they are with the defensive end of the floor. When South Carolina's on defense, the crowd really responds because this team does play great defense. And I mean, honestly, on a neutral floor, I think Florida's better than South Carolina. But thankfully, that game was at Colonial Life Arena. And somehow, some way, South Carolina rallies and, you know, make a couple free throws late and pick up that win over the Gators to go to what they are now, 24-5, 12-4. And so now it's all on the line tonight against Tennessee. And we know Dalton Connect is the guy. How do they slow him down?
Well, Keith, I think, it's kind of what they were telling us yesterday after practice. You really can't do much to slow him down. You kind of know what he's going to bring to the table. He's going to probably be SEC Player of the Year for a reason. He's probably going to go in the lottery in the NBA draft for a reason. It's going to be tough to stop that. You just can't let the other guys get going. That's going to be the biggest thing. Connect is going to do his thing. If he gets, Vici said it yesterday, if he gets, the last game he had 30 points, took like 24 shots to get that 30 points. I think you'll live with that, right? So that's just kind of got to be your mindset. Just don't let the other guys get going. Now, the first game, when the Gamecocks beat them in Knoxville, Tennessee did miss a lot of shots, but the Gamecocks missed a lot of shots too, right? So that they usually make. So I think, that should balance out. I think the biggest thing is just you let Connect kind of do his thing. You make it tough for him. Don't make it easy for him. But you got to stop everyone else that Tennessee has. I think if you do that, you'll give yourself a great chance to win.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that last game, Jonas Adu, he was in foul trouble much of that game. He's normally a walking double-double for them. He only had 6 points on 2 of 8. Connect, 31 points, but 24 field goals to get there. And the guy's a phenomenal free throw shooter, and he missed 4 free throws at home.
Yeah.
Which you really don't see. Zakai Ziegler, 0 for 6 and 0 for 4 for 3. Santiago Vescovi, who's a guy who's played more games than anybody at Tennessee. He only had 10 points. In fact, he was the only other Vol in double figures. Josiah Jordan James, just 2 points in that game. I mean, South Carolina did a phenomenal job holding Tennessee to just 2 of 11 from 3. And, I mean, they only shot 36% for the game, only 60% from the free throw line, and only 5 of 21 from 3. I mean, granted, you didn't shoot it great either, 19 for 56 and 10 for 29.
Yeah.
But really the difference was 15 for 18 from the free throw line.
I mean, I'll say that, yeah. The free throws. Yup. Changed everything.
And so here's another thing. Like, we've not seen very many good BJ Mack games lately. Like, he has really been struggling. I said this at the start of the season. There were going to be some very bad matchups for him.
Yeah.
And let's face it, he hadn't got to play. You don't get to play Missouri and Vanderbilt every week in the SEC, right? Last game against Tennessee, 4 for 15, 1 for 8. He did make 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Michi did not play well, but Talon Cooper was just the man, right? Like, even against Florida, it seemed like every shot he hit was just like the biggest shot until Michi took over down the stretch. I mean, Cooper, 4 of 5 from downtown in the last game at Rocky Top. He really kind of controlled it. You had good Miles Studi, who is available off the bench tonight. He was 3 for 3 from downtown and 4 for 4 from the free throw line, all at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I got to think it's going to be a sellout tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know if they're having a blackout, a whiteout, a garnet out, but I'm having something, right?
Yeah. They need to. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they put anything out yet, but yeah, maybe they're waiting until like today to let people know. But yeah, I mean, they need to do something. Just like, because I think it's just a mental thing for me. If you go into an arena and you just see all the fans, one, they're all yelling and all of that, real excited for their team. But if they're wearing all in unison, wearing like the same color, I think it just does something, not only for the visiting team, like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're about to go into this like big time environment, but also for the players on the Gamecocks, right? Where it's like, yo, everybody is with us. We got this, right? I think it's just a different sense. So I'm hoping they do something like that, because I think, you need as much of a competitive advantage and competitive edge as you can in a matchup like this. And I think that would definitely give you one.
Well, we know Dawn Staley will be on the floor.
Yes.
She'll have her white towel to lead the crowd in the sandstorm. She'll be with it.
Yep.
I mean, it's a big week. Look, we don't know how this week's going to play out. You could go 2-0 and win the league. You could go 1-1 and you still might win the league.
Yep.
You know, but you play it one game at a time. Tonight is a huge game. It's also senior night, which I hated senior night as a coach. In my years of all the senior nights, you never know what you're going to get, but generally you just never know how bad it's going to be.
Yeah.
You're hoping it's going to be good. I mean, we saw it on Sunday with the women, right? I'm not totally shifting over, but look, yeah, Tennessee's okay. They're a good team. Rakia Jackson, quite frankly, I thought should have been SEC Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But South Carolina had their worst statistical game of the season on senior day. And senior days are just weird because of all the emotions. And, you know, we know this is Miles Studi's last year. It's Stephen Clark's last year. It's BJ Mack's last year. I did notice this, that USC Sports Information has started to list Michi Johnson as a junior. So I don't know if he's planning on walking for senior day. But
they did say yesterday, Lamont said yesterday that right now it's just going to be those three. It's just going to be Studi, BJ, and I think, who was it? Steven, I think was
Stephen Clark. Yeah.
He said that he doesn't know if anyone else, but he also said he left it open. He was like, you know, they tell me these things last minute, so it could be somebody else too. So, well, we don't know. And then Michi, we asked Michi about his future plans too, and you know, he gave us the usual. Well, I'm just focused on, you know, the next day right now and all of that. So we'll see. Well, yeah, we'll go out there tonight on the court and we'll see who's all gonna walk. Yeah.
And so I have to say, right, like Zachary Davis signed with South Carolina. Frank Martin got fired. He could have gone someplace else. I mean, this guy has really been a catalyst and a difference maker. And I think the last time we talked, we both said, you know, really wish he just wouldn't stand in the corner and shoot threes, that he'd be more aggressive and go to the basket because of his length and get the free throw line.
Yeah.
He's embraced that. He's done that. I mean, obviously, Lamont Paris knows a lot more about it than I do. That's been good to see. But just look, it has not been the same guy every night, right? It's been Zachary Davis. It's been Cooper. It's been CMB.
Yeah.
Michi finally got back on the radar after being non-existent for like 3 weeks. Dude couldn't hardly make a shot.
Yeah.
A lot of 1-for-8s and some 1-for-11s in there for Michi.
Yeah.
Zach Davis has kind of been, along with Colin Murray Boyles and then Josh Gray off the bench, really calming influences and rocks for this team on both ends of the floor.
Yes, yeah, Zach and Jacoby Wright too. I mean, he was another guy that Frank recruited, and I mean, him and Josh, they could have left right when Coach Paris came in, but they were like, no, we're Gamecocks. We want to stay here. We want to build here. We want to win here, and it's working. I mean, everything's really coming together for them in that regard. And it's funny because I talked to Zach during the preseason, and I was talking to him. He was telling me that, hey, I really think I could be a 3-and-D guy. I really think that I could be that person for this team. And now fast forward a couple of months, and he's literally been that guy, so much so that he's been inserted in the starting lineup, and it's been great. It's been a great move for them to have Zach in the starting lineup. So that's like really, really awesome to see. But yeah, like you mentioned, him, Jacoby, Josh, just guys who have been there, right, have really, kept this thing together. And then also you have the veteran leadership of a Talon and a BJ Mack. Talon's also walking tonight as well for senior day. Yeah. So like, just the fact that you have that, just all those guys who are all unselfish. Like they don't care if they score 25 points or if they score 20 points even, or heck, they score 5 points. It's like, hey, did we win the game? All of them have that mindset. And Keith, when you got guys, everybody all on one accord that have that mindset, like, look, I don't care how much I score tonight. As long as that dub is in the win column, I'm perfectly fine. You got a recipe for success, and that's what we're seeing with the team.
No doubt about it. So I did think that was interesting that Michie Johnson could come back. And so Monday, Te-Hina Poapoa.
Yeah.
And she put Debbie Antonelli on notice, who mispronounced her name multiple times. Game 29 of the year. Horrible broadcasting. That's awful. No excuse.
Yeah, I don't know how you make that.
Debbie Antonelli's from Oregon, okay? She's from South Carolina.
She's from South Carolina, yeah.
But, there could have been a little recruiting message to that from Papa Pow Pow for a certain player who is yet to announce. But look, the Gamecock message board mobs had thrown dirt on this program after LSU won the national championship and got Anissa Morrow in the transfer portal.
And Haley. Yeah, and Haley. Yeah.
So, that was a South Carolina LSU thing. I don't think Dawn really wanted Haley Van Lith. She had her three-point shooter. Te-Hina Poapoa, who, by the way, the number one three-point shooter in the country.
Yeah.
Not Caitlin Clark.
Not Caitlin.
Not even 40% for Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
More on that in a minute.
Yeah.
South Carolina picked second. LSU, the consensus pick to win the Southeastern Conference. South Carolina loses all 5 starters. Talasia Cooper transfers to Tennessee. And, everybody's left Dawn Staley for dead, right? Pick number 6 in the AP, I think, just out of respect because it had a perfect season. Mm-hmm. But nobody thought South Carolina would win the SEC. Nobody thought South Carolina could beat more ranked teams than any other team in the country, which, by the way, they have. And all they've done is have another perfect season.
Yeah.
29-0, 16-0 in the SEC. By the way, 47 consecutive SEC regular season wins, a 57-game home win streak. The only team to ever go 16-0 in back-to-back seasons in the SEC. Only team in history since they've been naming SEC Players of the Week to have 4 different players named SEC Player of the Week.
Wow.
Yet the awards come out for the team that won the league by 3 games. Usually to the victor go the spoils, right?
Yeah.
Camila Cardoso, the only player on the first team all SEC, yet LSU gets 2. And look, I'm not going to deny Angel Reese or Anissa Morrow. Very deserving of first team All-SEC.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, Marquisha Davis and Madison Scott, both of you should not have been on that team ahead of Te-Hina Poapoa or Raven Johnson, who led the league and is one of the tops in the country in assist to turnover ratio.
Good.
Okay. And hey, I like Sarah Ashley Barker at Alabama, but should she be a first team guard over Te-Hina Poapoa, the number one 3-point shooter in the country?
Yeah.
No, I said. Then you go the 6th woman of the year. Well, Ashlyn Watkins don't get that.
Nope.
Hell, if you'd have told Dawn Staley she wasn't going to get it, I think Ash would have been in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
For February.
Yeah.
Okay. All defensive team. Where's Breezy Hall?
Yeah.
Breezy Hall, if you look at this team in SEC play, Breezy Hall, not it was actually Tessa Johnson led the team in 3-point shooting in SEC play, 47%. But Breezy Hall better than Te-Hina Poapoa in SEC play. Granted, this was a team. Nobody averaged more than 14 points per game. You had Malaysia Fulwiley, who I think only started 2 games. She did start because I think Raven and Chloe Kitts were out too late celebrating her birthday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Fulwiley gets us, but she's second on the team in scoring on the year. Yeah. She's not even on the second team All-SEC, just on the All-Freshman team.
Yeah.
A few slights there, my man.
A lot of slights, Keith. Yeah, a lot of slights. But I think you gotta, if you're the Gamecocks, you gotta embrace that, right? Everybody slided to you in the preseason when they said, okay, well, this is a rebuild year for Dawn Staley and the team. We'll pick them 6th in the AP poll. We'll pick them 2nd in the SEC, just out of respect. And then you literally put everybody on notice, first game of the year, beating Notre Dame, who was number 10 at the time, by 30 points, right? And then you follow that up with 28 more wins. And really, outside of what, Keith, maybe the LSU game, and there's like one more in there that I'm forgetting about now, but there really wasn't a game where you really thought, oh, wait, they might lose. Like, they really could lose. Every game they played this year, you knew they were going to win. They were going to find a way to come out on top. And I think that's a testament to just Coach Staley and her coaching staff, and then the players too, like wanting to prove everybody wrong, wanting to for Raven Johnson, right? She had that meme where, Caitlin Clark waved her off at the beginning in the Final Four game last year. She took that personal. She got in the lab. She worked on her shot, and she became a pretty reliable 3-point shooter. Same thing with Breezy Hall. Got in the lab, worked on her shot, and like you mentioned, ultimately behind Tessa Johnson as far as the 3-point percentage in SEC play. And again, it's a team, right? And maybe that's why they got slided in the awards, is because, everybody on this team pretty much ate at different times of the year. Everybody was able to figure it out and have success. But I think Ashlyn Watkins definitely should have been 6th woman of the year. She leads the team in blocks. I think she leads the conference in blocks.
Leads the SEC in block shots.
Yeah, leads the SEC in block shots. As a 6th woman, as someone who came off the bench for a lot of the season. And when she did start, she averaged 12 points and 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. Literally did everything on the court when she did start, right? And she did that when she was coming off the bench too. How she didn't win 6th woman of the year, I'm not sure how that happened. But knowing Ashley, she's gonna be like, okay, it's all good. I'll just show y'all why in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament as well. But yeah, crazy. 29-0. No one saw it coming. Even Coach Staley didn't see it coming. And she says it's wild because they don't practice well, right? And then they just go out there and they dominate teams and have a plus 20 margin of victory average for the season. It is really, really awesome to see. But yeah, man, I mean, they're a team. They're just a team. And I think maybe that's why they got slided in the awards. But it's all good. It's no, discredit to who they are and what they represent as far as being the definitive, no questions asked right now, best team in the country.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, every other team in the country, Power 5 team, has at least 4 losses. South Carolina is the only undefeated team in men's or women's college basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. At least on the Power 5 level. I mean, I don't know if, somebody in the American Northeast is undefeated or whatever, but look, I mean, the media coverage of Caitlin Clark, the proclamations, I mean, they make it out like the sport is literally going to die when she plays her last game. And then the WNBA will overtake the NBA as the #1 sports league in the country. Okay. They go out of their way to make apples to donkeys comparisons. Okay. I'm sorry. It's not the same. Caitlin Clark and Pistol Pete Maravich. Okay. My mom grew up with Pete Maravich when Press was the coach at Clemson. Hell, when Pete was an 8th grader, he had his own goal in their practice facility. Nobody could shoot on that goal, and he would scrimmage with the team. Yeah. He was unbelievable in high school. But this dude scored ever how many, 3,667 points in 83 games. 3 years he could play.
No three-point line either, yeah.
3 years, couldn't play as a freshman. No three-point line.
Yeah.
Dude averaged literally 44 points a game for his career.
Crazy, man. What?
Don't tell me that her breaking his record in her 130th game is the same. It's not the same, especially when she gets to push off every single time. Look, I'm not denying her talent. Aaliyah Boston will probably be the happiest player.
Oh, she's going to be so happy.
That Caitlin Clark is going to be on her team. Although she may never see the ball again. There is that possibility.
Yeah.
But, right? She's going to create space because, look, she can shoot it from the logo. And really, she's the Will Rogers of women's basketball. She's never met a shot she didn't like because she will take sometimes 30, 35 shots per game.
Yeah.
Everybody knew she was going to break that record. Everybody knew Iowa was going to be a top-ranked team. They were ranked number 3 in the preseason poll. I went back and made sure of that in my research for this. Everybody knew this was the eventual outcome of what was going to happen. And so, to me, this was not the biggest story of the year in women's college basketball, even though the media makes it out to be for multiple reasons, and we all know exactly why some of them are. Okay. If it was Madison Scott from Ole Miss breaking Pete Maravich's record and the all-time record, it would not have got near the coverage as Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Let's call it like it is. But it's nauseating. I mean,
yeah,
she's not the greatest women's player of all times. Okay.
Yeah.
She's not Cheryl Miller. She's not Diana Taurasi. She's not Maya Moore.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, Maya Moore, right? Like it's a ton. It's a ton. I mean, she's up there. I mean, we put a top 10 maybe, but it's like
she's up there.
She's up there, but not. Yeah, but it's it's crazy. I mean, just to like think about like the coverage she gets. But I mean, for me, Keith, it was like when I saw her drop, what was it, 44 in the Final Four against South Carolina, and I was there in Dallas. I saw that. I was like, man, yeah. She a problem. I mean, yeah, that's different. Because I was like, I said all week, I was like, no, there's no way. There's no way she's gonna be able to do all of that. She'll get 30. I was like, she'll get 30, but she'll take like 35 shots to get it. She dropped 44. I was like, whoa, and they won. I was like, oh man, okay, nah, all right, this is different. Yeah, like,
yeah, but you also saw on Sunday. The only game I've seen where the refs don't let her shove off every time without calling a foul.
Yeah.
She didn't get 44 against LSU because they called her for pushing off.
They did. Yeah. It was a different thing. Yeah, when they played LSU. Yeah.
And so to me, the story of the year in women's college basketball is a team that everybody threw dirt on that had no returning starters. They had a bunch of young players, for the most part, who sat and waited their turn, and one transfer who turned out to be the best transfer in the country, Te-Hina Poapoa.
Yeah.
And we're going to get 2 years out of her, which I don't know if we really expected that going in.
Nope. Yeah.
They run the table, not just in the preseason, but in the SEC. They are the consensus #1 team. They're going to be the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament yet again. And we're talking about a program that has been like 114 and 149 and 3, or not. I think maybe the freshies were like
108 and 3, I want to say.
Yeah, 108 and 3, and now you got 29 and 0. So you 132 and 3 the last 5 years.
Crazy.
I mean,
yeah. I know for a fact they're 97 and 3 now in their last 100 games. They have 77 wins, SEC wins in that time. Since the freshies in 2019, 2020, which is wild. Like, what? I mean, like literally, man. It's like, I think, I can name the losses they've had in SEC play. I think it was Mizzou, and it was Mizzou, and then Kentucky in the championship game, and there's like one more that I'm forgetting about. But yeah, it's just
at Tennessee.
Yes, that one. Yeah. And that's it. Literally, like that's it. Everybody else, every other SEC team they've seen, they've ran through like it was nothing. I mean, maybe there were some close calls in there, but like I said, it was like I said earlier, when you watched the game, you knew there was never a thought in your mind that South Carolina was going to lose, and that's just dominance.
So does South Carolina have both the Naismith National Men's and Women's Coach of the Year? I mean, look, I think it's a certainty at this point. Even if South Carolina were to lose the next two, Lamont Paris, hands down, is going to be the SEC Men's Coach of the Year. Dawn Staley named the SEC Coach of the Year again. I mean, she's going to need a new trophy case just for that award.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's still, at this point, it's going to come down to the postseason for them. Can they be the last team standing? Can they cut down the nets in Cleveland, which will be the third different city in which they could win a national championship. I mean, in Las Vegas right now, you can take South Carolina to win, or you can take the field. You get more money if somebody else wins than if South Carolina wins. That is what a prohibitive favorite Dawn Staley's team is to win their third national championship, and what easily could be right like the one they didn't get to play for. And then, you know, quite frankly, Aaliyah Boston's squad could have won all 4 of them. They were not allowed to play for one, and then had 2 heartbreaking losses in the national
Final Four
semifinals.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, but yeah, that's like the tough part. It's like, you know, I'm so glad they won in 2022, but yeah, it's like, yeah, they could have won. So they could have won more, but it's all good. They got that one in 2022. But yeah, Keith, I think they have everything that they need to win another national championship this year. And if you look at the rest of the field, I don't think anyone else can beat them, can match what they have, just because you have, obviously, you have Camila Cardozo, who's, you know, just a dominant presence on both ends of the floor, but she doesn't have to be what Aaliyah was, where, okay, you need her to score 20 points every night. No, she could score 14 points, and then you got Chloe Kitts in the starting lineup who can give you a lot of buckets too. You got Breezy Hall, you got Raven Johnson, who's kind of the facilitator of everything, the person that holds everything together, right? And okay, if you do kind of manage, which a lot of teams have done this year, if you do manage to stay in the first quarter, right, with the Gamecock starters, hey, you got Ashlyn Watkins, Mylasia Fulwiley, and again, Te-Hina Poapoa, a part of that starting lineup as well. Tessa Johnson has really come on strong as of late, you know, as a freshman off the bench. You have Sanaya Fagan, who can still, you know, do things for you as well coming off the bench. You just have so many weapons that I think it's tough for you to say, okay, all of that is going to be off on one night. Like, somebody is going to have their stuff, right? And that's what makes them so formidable. That's what makes them so dangerous. It's just there's so many ways that they can attack you. And quite frankly, there's no other team in the country that has all of that has all of those answers. I think the biggest thing for them, you know, they got to make free throws, right? The one Achilles heel that this team has is sometimes they can get slack at the free throw line, and that can ultimately, you know, when the game is tight, when it's a postseason scenario where it's a one game and you advance, or one game and you lose, you got to make those free throws. That's what's going to matter, right? Like, ultimately, the 3-point shooting and, you know, shooting in general, that, you know, that'll probably balance itself out, right, when you're playing a good team. But the free throw shooting, those little things, right, that's going to be the difference. And that's the one thing that they just got to make sure they do right. If they do that, yeah, I think we're looking at a third national championship for Dawn Staley and her team.
So it's going to be a big week of hoops. So one last thing before I let you go. Joyce Edwards and the Camden Bulldogs, they win another state championship. I think all she did was have 27 points, 20 rebounds, and 7 block shots.
Yeah. Crazy.
And she got her braces off. She doesn't look like a 15-year-old anymore. She looks like a senior now. Yeah. But obviously, I'm assuming you guys had some coverage on that. What's it been like to watch her this year, and what do you think she brings to South Carolina next season?
Oh, man, Keith, it's been wonderful. Not only watching Joyce this year, but I've been covering her since she was a 7th grader playing on varsity, right? So it's really been awesome to watch her journey and just see her now, you know, being one of the top players in not only the state, but the entire country has just been absolutely wonderful. And what does she bring to the table? You said it, in the championship game, in her last game, And like, you know, and everything's already signed, sealed, delivered. She's going to South Carolina. She can go in this game and just coast, right? But yeah, she did it. She I think she played every minute up until the final like 2 or 3 minutes when they had everything wrapped up, because I was there. Up until like they had everything wrapped up, she came out the game, and you said it, 27 points, 20 rebounds, and 7 blocks. And the way she scored that 27 points, she makes the game look so easy. Right, because it's like, okay, you tell her, hey, try to shoot a jumper. She could do that. Okay, hey, here's the ball. You know, at the top of the key, we need you to get to the basket. She can do that. You give her the ball in the paint, and you know, ask her, okay, get down on the block, make a move. She can do that. She brings everything to the table, and it's wild. And like, I'm so excited to see what it's going to all look like when you got her, Malaysia Fulwiley, and, you know, Ashlyn Watkins, all players from the Midlands, all on the same court at the same time. Players who have probably came up together playing against each other and playing on the same team together in AAU, all of them on the floor at the same time, along with everybody else, because the Gamecocks are now bringing back so many other players, right? With Te-Hina coming back, Raven Johnson coming back, Breezy Hall, Chloe Kitts, right? All expected to come back. It's going to be exciting stuff, but she's bringing it all. And she knows that she's going in there, you know, because I asked her about it, you know, is it, you know, winning another state title? It was her second straight state title. I was like, is that going to fuel you as you go towards go to Carolina? And she said it. Honestly, I'm going there. Everybody on that team's a McDonald's All-American. So I know, like, nothing's going to be handed to me. I'm not expecting anything to be handed to me. I'm ready to put the work in and help us win another national championship. That's what she told me, and I believe her. You know, when Joyce says something, it usually comes true. So yeah, I'm excited to see what she's going to bring to the table, and I'm excited for Gamecock fans, the fans' reaction to it as well. For those who haven't seen her, it's gonna be exciting stuff for sure.
We can't wait, Chandler. Man, you bring it like no other. Can't thank you enough for being with us again.
Yeah.
And big week of hoops coming up. March Madness will soon be upon us. And can't wait to see where it leads for both these teams. But it is exciting times for South Carolina basketball. I know you'll be, and your crew at WLTX will be all over it.
Yeah.
And again, can't thank you enough, and we'll look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Yes, sir, Keith. Sounds good. Thank you, as always. Talk to you soon.
All right. All right, and that is my man, Chandler Mack from WLTX. Love it, no doubt about it. A lot of people already talking about the sellout crowd. People are nervous for tonight, but hey, man, South Carolina is playing with house money, okay? Nobody predicted them to be in the position that they are in today. And quite frankly, nobody picked South Carolina either until they started making believers out of people. LSU dominated the entire offseason. Oh, we got Angel Reese coming back. Oh, we got Haley Van Lith coming in. Oh, we got Michaela Williams. Oh, we outbid you for Anissa Morrow, allegedly, in NIL money. Allegedly gave her extra money not to visit South Carolina. Dawn Staley says, okay, I got pow. We're good. What happens? South Carolina goes to LSU, takes them down, knocks off more ranked opponents than any other team in the country, wins 47 consecutive SEC regular season games, the first team to ever go 16-0 in back-to-back seasons, the first team to ever have 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 separate players named SEC Player of the Week. 29-0, unanimous number 1. Every other men's and women's basketball teams got at least 3, and in women's, they all have 4 losses or more. South Carolina, 0 losses. That's why, to me, this is the story of the year. 5 new starters, a freshman class, 1 transfer. Okay, and really Raven Johnson and Cardoso, the only players that played major minutes. Breezy Hall got a little bit of playing time. Sanaya Fagan, a little bit of playing time. Okay, Chloe Kitt's not much playing time. She went in the starting lineup. Mylasia Fulwiley took the basketball world by storm. My man Ryan Rucco says the Eiffel Tower is shaking after she went behind her back around and laid it in her signature move against Notre Dame. You blow them out by 30. You blow out Maryland. You beat Utah. You beat all comers, LSU, UConn, you name it. South Carolina did it. Everybody knew Caitlin Clark was going to set the record, okay, because, you know, Maud is going to let her shoot it as many times as she wants to, okay, and she's talented. I'm not taking that away, okay, but the overly dramatic articles, like she's the greatest player since Michael Jordan in the sport of basketball. I'm sorry, she's not. Okay, we said she's not Cheryl Miller. She's not Diana Taurasi. Okay, she's not Maya Moore. Hell, I don't even think she's Dawn Staley. Okay, Ann Myers Drysdale. Okay, Kim Mulkey, Brianna Stewart. Well, you could name a lot of players that are in the league. Okay, Caitlin Clark ain't them. Okay, I doubt very seriously in her first 5 years she will have the accomplishments Asia Wilson has. And quite frankly, Asia Wilson was robbed of her 3rd MVP award. Okay, South Carolina women's basketball is the story of women's college basketball this year because of just how unlikely it was. And Dawn Staley gets no credit for being an X and O's coach. Okay, there's a lot more to coaching than X's and O's. Yes, you got to have players, okay, but you've also got to be a parent, a daycare operator, a psychologist, a counselor, a confidant, a friend, okay, and sometimes you got to be the bad guy. Okay, this team has surpassed everybody's expectations, just like South Carolina's men's basketball team has surpassed everybody's expectations. So in general, South Carolina basketball is the story of the year in college basketball. But in particular, when it comes to Caitlin Clark, very predictable. LSU, all the praise, all the glory, all the picks to win the SEC. Preseason number 1. How long did that last? 1 game. When Colorado took them down in Las Vegas, like I said, Kim Mulkey must have gone on the Liberace tour and hijacked that jacket she wore for the South Carolina game and had Coca-Cola stamped on it. That was the Liberace special. All right, but Dawn Staley and South Carolina women's basketball, at least up until this point of the season, has been perfect. And nobody expected that. And so that will do it for today. Thursday show, we'll talk about Ole Miss baseball series. We'll talk about tonight's Tennessee game, what should be a thrilling game on Friday. Peyton Titus, beat writer for Go Gamecocks and the State, will join us. We'll talk about the team, the awards, and look ahead to the SEC tournament, which South Carolina will most likely play Mississippi State on Friday at noon. And so there's that. And thanks to everybody. I mean, we got record numbers on here right now. I can't thank you enough for taking the time, for being part of history today on Gamecock Pod Live with the largest live audience that we've ever had. And hopefully next week we have even more. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a like. Give us 5 stars. This will be up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. Later today, refer friends to the site. And if you'd like more of this podcast every single day, Monday through Friday, look us up on Patreon, patreon.com/Gamecock Pod Daily. We have our Garnet and Black Town Halls once a week. It's a live interactive Zoom call. That's worth a month's VIP subscription, just those meetings. So again, thanks, special thanks to my guy, Chandler Mack. Got some great shows lined up. And thanks to all of you for taking the time out of your day to join us live. Go Gamecocks, beat the Vols, and God bless you all. I will be back for Thursday and Friday shows on Gamecock Pod Daily and back again next week on Gamecock Pod Live. All set, out. I'm out of here. Have a fantastic rest of your day.